I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands on which we're all meeting today, and pay respects to elders past, present and future. I'm on Whadjuk Noongar country here in Perth, and there is the chat function, which I did mention to a couple of people before, that everyone's just introducing themselves and where they're from, and if you know the lands on which you're coming to us from, then pop that in there as well, and for that acknowledgement. So I've already kind of talked about the Zoom side of things, and yes, it will be recorded. In the chat function, we will be kind of monitoring that through as we're doing the introduction to the two programs that we're talking about today. So if you have any questions, pop them in the chat, and then we'll bring them up and talk about them a bit more when we get to the Q&A section at the end. So I can see familiar faces, but for those of you, I'll give a quick introduction to Regional Arts WA for those of you that might be kind of new to who we are. So we're the state's only multi-arts organisation with a purely regional focus, and we've been around since 1994. We are not-for-profit, and our purpose is to celebrate and strengthen a powerful regional arts sector to contribute to connected and creative regional communities. So as part of our programs, we advocate and administer funding with support from and on behalf of the state and federal governments. And so two of the programs that we will be talking about today are an arm of that. The first one that we're going to chat about is the RAF recovery program. So that one is part of the Australian government's $10 million targeted recovery boost. And the Regional Arts Fund, which that falls under, is managed nationally by Regional Arts Australia, and we administer it here in WA. The second one is Regional Arts Resilience Grants Program. This one's funded through the state government's Regional Arts and Culture Investment Program to provide immediate support to the regional arts sector to recover from the COVID-19 pandemic. And essentially both of the programs are kind of looking at creative recovery projects and getting everyone back into it. So I realise I haven't introduced myself. I'm Fleur. I'm the project coordinator for the Recovery Boost programs. So I've been working at Regional Arts WA for 3 years, I think. And I've probably talked to quite a few of you because I've been kind of working on some of the Regional Arts Fund Project Fund programs and our youth program as well. And we do have a couple of other faces from Regional Arts WA here in the room. Mon is there under Regional Arts WA. She's not going to talk, she's got a bit of a cold, but thought I'd make sure you knew she was there. And then we've got Hannah Chambers and Shandell Cummings. So Hannah and Shandell are both working on the resilience and the recovery programs. And do you want to introduce yourselves, guys? Hannah, do you want to go first?
Hi, I'm Hannah. So I've been at Regional Arts WA for 5 years now. So I used to coordinate tours, but have gone back into funding. So along with Shandell, I manage the resilience and recovery funding rounds, but also manage the Y Culture funding round. If you would like to put on a youth grant in or project in your communities, then come and have a chat to me about Y Culture as well.
Thanks, Hannah. And Shandell?
Hi everyone, my name's Shandell. I'm actually based regionally, and I'm a recent addition to Regional Arts WA. I'm also a First Nation artist, so yeah, I'm looking forward to rolling out the grants and meeting quite a few of you.
Thanks, Shandell. And I'll just pop in there as well. Hannah's also based out in Boyup Brook, so out in the regions down there as well. Now, what I might do is I will show everybody just this new little thing. You might have seen it now. It's been up there for a while on our website. I'm going to do that fancy thing where I share my screen. Here we go. Cool. So recognizing that currently there's a lot of different grant programs out there floating around. So what we've done, and a lot that are kind of coming through, we're managing as well. So we've put together just a little timeline to kind of help everyone get an idea of when programs are going to be open and when you kind of can be looking at applying for different programs. So this is just up on our website. If you click on the funding tab, just the heading, and it gives you an overview of the different programs that are going to be open over the next kind of year. So as you can see, we've got resilience grants there and the RAF recovery. And then there's a few more that will be kind of opening up in 2021. So this is just like a good kind of overview of what's out there. And then if you want to know a little bit more about the programs, you can select them and find out the information directly from the tabs there. So now we're going to, I'm going to hand over to Shandell, and she is going to give you a little bit of information about the recovery grants.
Cool, thanks Fleur, Kaya, Wanju. So hello and welcome. I would also like to pay my respects to First Nation people, past, present and emerging, on all countries that are participating in today's session. So today I'm going to share some information on the RAF recovery program. So the RAF recovery program is a grant with applicants being able to apply for up to $30,000. So it's quite a big fund grant allocation. It's designed to meet the medium-term recovery needs of artists, organisations and communities, and projects in this program should focus on activities that assist in the recovery process from the impacts of COVID-19. So activities for the recovery grant program could include creative recovery projects such as community workshops, training programs such as professional development opportunities for individuals or community groups, operational recovery plans, which could be something that's a result from the organisation or the community group assessing their needs due to COVID-19 impacts. So a good example for that could be, say a group has identified that they've had some risk or impacts from COVID-19, so they can actually engage a consultant to explore and review the existing operational capacity or the accessibility to existing resources, just things like that. Then they could actually develop a strategic plan for recovering from COVID-19 based on the outcomes of the consultant's review. Recovery funding can also consider strategies for future emergency events. So these could include funding to support staff and the internal development of risk plans and emergency operating procedures, which are also generally in response to what we've recently experienced with COVID-19. In addition, recovery funding can also consider asset purchase or asset replacement, of which the grant can cover up to $5,000 within the application. However, we do suggest that you demonstrate a strategic need for the asset and possibly include strategic planning to justify the asset purchase or replacement. An example of that could be if an organisation or group identify an asset that will support, online streaming, or if there's an asset that will support local artists to actually expand on their reach, especially with the possibility of a second wave, or if another pandemic situation occurs in future, then this can also be considered within your application. The RAF recovery program will operate as a competitive funding round and will focus on projects that demonstrate long-term outcomes to achieve the medium-term recovery needs. So recovery is now open and open on the 3rd of August. The closing date for recovery is 5 p.m. on the 22nd of October. Recovery is also designed for projects that will commence after the 1st of January 2021, and then all RAF recovery projects that are funded are required to be completed by 30th of June 2024. So to be eligible for the grant, you have to identify as an individual artist or an LGA, or be within the not-for-profit sector and based in regional WA. So regional eligibility is determined by MMM classification, and the link to double check this is on our website. There's also a link within the guidelines and one within the application form as well. Project officers are available to discuss your project and can offer advice to, or will offer advice to always check the guidelines and cross-reference them with the application. It's really important to do this as the guidelines support the assessment process. So for recovery funding, the assessment criteria will focus on the same criteria within resilience, which is impact, partnerships, reach, opportunities, quality and viability. But recovery will also have an additional 3 criteria, which are community confidence, creative confidence and business confidence. There is more information on these within the guidelines, but you can also request further clarification specific to your project if you talk to one of the project officers. Recovery grant applications will be assessed by an independent external panel of artists and cultural workers from across WA, and these are selected by staff at Regional Arts WA. As in any funding, the panel's decisions are final, and a list of the members within the panel pool can be found on our website. Additionally, we'd like to remind applicants that draft reviews are an option, and we have identified that for recovery, these will need to be sent to the project officers 2 weeks prior to the closing date. So this will mean that for recovery draft reviews, the cut-off date will be around the 8th of October. And probably last thing to finish off is just a side note to let you guys know that as project officers, we are planning on some field trips. So I'm planning on being in the Goldfields region in a couple of weeks' time. So if anyone is keen to meet up and have a chat, send me an email and we can discuss further.
Thanks, Chandel. And just so everyone is familiar as well, I'll just give you a quick little look at the web page. So this is where you will be able to find the guidance materials, and also the link to apply, which is down here. So this will take you through to the application there, and you can find out kind of some of the major details. But yes, as Chandel said, those guidance materials, they give you a breakdown of all the criteria for the grant. And there's dot points underneath each of the assessment criteria that kind of give you an idea of what the panel will be looking for in an application. Ooh, cool. Thanks, Chandel, again. And I might hand over to Hannah now to give us a little bit of an insight into the resilience grants.
Thank you, Fleur. So the Regional Arts Resilience Grants are designed to assist regional artists, arts organisations and communities to sustain creative practices and participate in the regional economic during the immediate period of disruption caused by COVID-19. Projects may include creative development, community engagement and capacity building activities such as professional development and business development that abide with the COVID-19 restrictions. There are two categories through the Regional Arts Resilience Grant. So the first one is the community engagement, which is for projects involving regional artists that significantly engage the community in which they are based and or the broader regional WA community. So projects could include engaging local artists in your community to either run a series of workshops in film, photography, visual arts, etc., host an event either face-to-face or via Zoom as an outcome. The development category is for projects that provide skills, business and or creative development opportunities for regional artists, arts groups or community organisations. So example of development projects could include business development. For example, if your committee has identified during COVID-19 that organisation needs to undertake a governance review, strategic review, create a new marketing plan, business plan, this is something that you can apply through resilience. Other development projects could include capacity building online, recording a new EP, developing your online presence through live streaming, creating a website, undertaking workshops or masterclasses to upskill yourself. So we're just going to have a quick look at the Resilience Round 3 application form, as we have just added a question about COVID-19. So if we could please share the screen. So we have added a question in the Regional Arts Resilience Grant application form for applicants to address the risk of COVID-19 and how that may affect the delivery of your project. If your project is a development opportunity, then 200 words will be sufficient to demonstrate how your project will adhere to the current COVID-19 restrictions, which you can identify any risks that you may find. If your project outcome is a community engagement, to further demonstrate how you're being COVID-19 safe, we suggest including your COVID-19 safety plan and risk assessment plan in the support materials section. So the amount that you can apply up to is $15,000. The Regional Arts Resilience Grant is primarily for individuals, not-for-profit organisations and local governments based in regional WA. What resilience can cover is artists and arts workers' fees, travel costs, project materials, venue hire, equipment hire, project administration costs up to 15%. Resilience can't fund assets, but recovery can fund strategic assets up to $5,000. And now we will show you a snapshot of the Regional Arts Resilience Grants opening and closing rounds. So currently we are in round 3 of the Regional Arts Resilience Grants, which closes on the 1st of October for projects starting after the 1st of November 2020. So we just had round 1 and round 2. So we encourage applications to apply in round 4 and 5. If your project is not ready to be submitted in round 3, then we encourage applicants to download a copy of their application form that you have already started. That way you can copy and paste it into round 4 or 5. So round 4 will open on the 2nd of October 2020 and close on the 29th of October 2020 for projects starting after the 1st of December 2020. Round 5 will open on the 30th of October 2020 and close on the 26th of November 2020, and for projects starting after the 1st of January 2020. to 2021. So round 3 is currently open, but it will close on the 1st of October 2020. So if you're looking at applying in round 3, then we suggest having your draft application to us 1 week prior to the closing start date. So the assessment period is usually 4 weeks. So once your application is submitted through the Regional Arts Resilience Grant, an eligibility check will be completed by the Regional Arts WA staff, so myself and Shandell. The Regional Arts Resilience Grant is assessed by an independent external panel of artists and cultural workers from across Western Australia, selected by Regional Arts WA. So if you would like to discuss your application, either if it's going into round 3, round 4, or round 5 of the Resilience, so contact myself or Shandell if you have any questions about the grant program, and we're also happy to look over your draft application for feedback as well. So we have put some resilience tips together that we have come across in the first 2 rounds, and we're probably bound to find more tips as we go through the rounds. So the first couple of tips that we have is we encourage all applicants to speak to a project officer before commencing an application. If you are not submitting an application in round 3, but are going to submit an application in round 4 or 5, please remember to adjust your start date, end date and project timeline. A handy tip prior to sending a draft application to your project officer is rereading your application to make sure you have ticked all the boxes and you have met all the grant criteria, and always hit save when you've made changes to your application form. That is it from me.
Thanks, Han. And as Christopher just pointed out, I didn't have the application form sharing when Hannah was just chatting about that question around the COVID risk management. So this is just a little snapshot of what that is in the application form. So just got a bit of space there to kind of talk about how you're planning to mitigate these risks, and then you have that space in the support material to then upload any additional information that you have there. Cool. Awesome. So, I just unshared my screen and then I need to share my screen. So with the application form as well, there's also some of you may be familiar with our applications from previous rounds or programs. There is something kind of new that's been added in, which is the project outcomes. So this is, we are working with Cultural Development Network on their White Box platform to support kind of better planning and evaluation, focusing on the intended outcomes of our programs. And measuring those outcomes kind of helps us to understand what is achieved for the regional arts sector and how efficiently the program has been delivered. So in the application form, there will be a page like this, as you can kind of see here, which is looking at firstly the cultural outcomes for the project, and there's 2 outcomes that have been kind of selected that link up to the aims and the objectives of these 2 programs, resilience and recovery. So one of them is creativity is stimulated, and the other is knowledge, ideas and insight is gained. So what we ask you in the application form is to select one of these that you're kind of aiming to achieve for yourself as the applicant, or your community, or those that are kind of engaging with the activity. You may find that you'll look at it and go, oh, but we're doing both of them. We're just asking you to kind of select one that's going to be kind of a real focus and that you're able to respond to in the application. And also then, if you're successful, to talk about and look at how you would measure it throughout your project, and look back on it once it's all completed. So as an example, so we've just got an example in here. So if you're an individual artist and the applicant has kind of selected that the outcome aim is creativity is stimulated, there'll be a question there that is asking you what you know. So knowing that for this individual artist and other artists in their community, they know that maintaining contact and opportunities to connect and discuss our arts and ideas is important for our creativity and motivation, and that coming together over food is a source of inspiration for storytelling, trust and bonding across diverse backgrounds. So this is kind of basically the applicant is talking about what their experience is, whether it's what's been experienced through the kind of COVID-19 restrictions or just in the community, as in from what you know from the projects that you've delivered before, or what your organisation is experiencing or yourself as an artist are experiencing. And then thinking about that, what they know, what you know, then looking at what you're going to do. So you kind of want to be highlighting in the knowing section the experience that then is going to show that you have the capacity and there is that need there for you to be delivering the project or the activities that you're planning to do through this project, and looking at that kind of cultural side of it for this question. And then there's measurable outcomes. Here you can select from four different outcomes, and this is really again looking at which one is kind of the main aim for the activities or the project that you're hoping to be funded. And again looking at what you know, what your experience is, and then what you're going to do to kind of meet that outcome. So say if you're looking at the outcome aim being professional practice capability is increased, then going because of the landscape change of COVID, they'll be transitioning business to working with artists to develop film and work in a high degree of quality, like online, so moving things online. We'll have this, we do have a document that's going to be online, which gives you a couple of example pictures. Obviously they're quite short, and we would kind of expect you to have a little bit more information in the application form, but hopefully you'll be able to kind of use that as a reference and to give you an idea of how you would respond to these questions. And also you've got Hannah and Chandel there, and they're able to kind of help you if you have any questions about it as well. Then I just thought I would also give you a quick little look at the budget section of the application. So here you're looking at putting in the amount that you're planning to request, and then there's a section for other cash income. So this is essentially any other cash income that you're having that's going to be going towards the project, whether it's additional sponsorship or another grant, or it's your own cash contribution. So it's only cash here, cash income. And then you've got space. This section here is about your own personal applicant cash income or contribution towards the project. So it's only what you're going to be putting in yourself. If you're getting other kind of grants and things like that, then that doesn't get included in that section. It's only listed under other cash income. Then in cash expenditure, so again, this is only cash expenses here. So you're listing all of the cash expenses that you're going to incur for the project and that you're kind of looking at the grant to cover. And one little tip is there is a section here in the totals, which is the cash balance. So all these totals automatically calculate from what you have entered into these tables. Your balance, your cash budget must balance before you put in your application. So you need to be able to show that you have identified or have sourced enough cash income to cover all of the cash expenses for your project. So if this is if it's not zero, then you'll have to go back and have a look at the tables and what you've entered there to make sure that to find where it might be differing. If you've got any additional notes that you want to add about the expenses that you have or break down how you calculated it, then there is a space there to add notes. Now, the in-kind contribution section, this is where you are putting any of the contributions to the project that are going to be at no cost. So whether it's if it's your time that you're putting in, if it's coming from another organisation or volunteers that you have working on your project, whether you're getting kind of venue hire and things like that free of charge, this is where you list it. And it's really important that you do include that because there is a value on the time that people are putting into your projects, and we recognise that. And it really kind of shows through this area. It's also if you're getting discounts from people that you're partnering with, or people are providing a discount on a service, then you would kind of put the value of what that discount is in the in-kind section as well. Okay, and now we just pop into support material. So this section of the application is, we really encourage you to utilise this to be providing documents that are going to support what you've written in your application. So if you're partnering with other organisations or other artists, then provide a letter of support here that outlines how that partnership is working. So if you're partnering with the local CRC and they're going to be providing you with volunteers, then making sure that you have a letter of support there from them that kind of outlines that that in-kind support that they're providing, and also if they're going to be involved, making sure that you have a letter there to show that. Same goes for the artist that you're going to be working with if you are, or consultants. So the personnel that you're engaging for your project, making sure that you have confirmation from them and their bio or a CV. And then if you are engaging an artist or you're an artist yourself that's applying, providing support material that showcases your work or the artist that you're engaging, so that the panel can see the quality of the work that's being created. This is also where, I haven't updated this document, but this is also where you would put in, if you have a risk management plan or other supporting documents to show how you're going to manage it if we do get restrictions again, or that you've kind of mitigating the risks of COVID-19 and the effects of it on your project, especially if it's going to be a public event or something like that. Then there is a section as well that if you are working with First Nations cultural content and communities, we do ask that you provide evidence of support from the First Nations people, organisation or the community to show that they are actually supporting the work that you're doing and that you actually have the correct permissions to be able to be working with that content. And that's everything, I think. So just to jump back again, utilize the website has all of the kind of major information that you need. Also, the contact details for Hannah and Chandel are on the resilience and the recovery page. And this is where you can download the guidelines and start your application online. And again, with the guidelines, I'll just give you a quick look. This is the RAF recovery guidelines. Now, it is quite a long document because it encompasses all of the Regional Arts Fund programs over the next year. But if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, there is the assessment criteria. So this is what I was talking about earlier. It's the main criteria, what it's about, and then you'll see these dot points underneath, which give you an idea of what the panel is going to be looking for. Now, they may not all be relevant to your project or what you're applying for, but these, and obviously, so some of them may fit with your project, some may not, but these dot points are kind of some of the things that they're going to be thinking about when they're going to be looking at your application. Okay, that is enough now of me chatting away at you. So we are going to open it up now to Q&A, and Chandel is going to, we might go through the questions that have been streaming in the chat and then open it up for discussion.
No worries. So the first question we got through was from Ainsley. So will there be money left for round 4 and round 5? Blur.
Yes. So it will be, it's still, for resilience, it's still going to be quite competitive. The final rounds are probably going to be a little bit more competitive, but yes, there will be money left in the 4th and 5th rounds.
Cool, thank you. Then the next question was from Christopher. Can you reapply in another round if you aren't successful in one round? I'm happy to answer that question. So generally what we've been telling everybody is yes, you can. So if you are unsuccessful in a round that you've applied for, you can readjust your application depending on the feedback that you get and reapply in the next round if you wish to do so. Hopefully that answers the question. Okay, next one is from Dominique. Do we respond with knowing in the opening of the paragraph or for every sentence and paragraph? Blue, would you like to answer that one?
Oh, I feel like you would be great at answering that one, Chandel. No, so there'll be the knowing will be kind of written at the top as the question, and then you just respond to it. So you don't have to put knowing at the beginning of each paragraph when you're responding to that particular question. I think in the example that I showed, it was kind of set in. It'll look a little bit different. So you'll have kind of a empty block for you to fill out when you get into the application.
Cool, thank you. Hopefully that answers Dominique's question. Another one from Christopher. So example applications are good for, especially good for younger artists. Will this be available online and same as the budget? Blue, would you like to answer that one too?
Sure. We don't have any example applications. There will be the list of the applicants that have been successful in the previous rounds. But with that, for younger artists, we're definitely encouraging them to kind of make contact with Hannah and Shandell so that they can support them through the writing of the application as best they can. And the budget, we don't have one currently up, but we can look at getting something online.
Cool, thanks Fleur. Probably might be good to also note that we are in the process of finalising the application guidelines, so specifically to resilience, but we'll also develop another one for recovery as well. So there are some resources that can be available if people need some extra support, definitely to contact us and we can provide that. Cool. Next, last question is from Patricia. Oh wait, there, Ainsley's got another one after. It's Patricia, is that correct? Yep, thank you. In cash income, can we include pending grants? Blur.
Yes, you can. Yep, there's so there's a little, one of the columns is a status column. So if you have applied for another grant and it's pending, then yes, you can include it there. I guess the only thing to point out there is that because the grants can't cover the same thing, so just making sure that it evens out in the budget.
Cool. And I think you just, the status is unconfirmed and confirmed, isn't it? So it's just tick unconfirmed if it's not confirmed. Yeah. Okay, and then the last question is from Ainsley. Will there be written feedback?
Is that going to be as well? Yes, yeah, there is. So we do have a very quick kind of turnaround on between when the assessment happens and notification. So yeah, there will be panel feedback provided so that, yeah, if you are considering coming into another round, you have that there as a so you know what the panel feedback was.
Cool, thank you, Fleur. I think that's it.
Can I ask sorry, another question?
Sure.
If you're working with other regions on a larger project, is there the ability for each region to put in a grant application for their end of that project? That, you get what I mean? So if we're working collaboratively on, so like our touring model, or getting a show in, is there a possibility for each town to put in their own application? Will that be viewed as sort of all of us sort of double dipping, though it would be for their own region? Is that okay?
Look, as long as it's not applying for the same particular costs to be covered, if it's for that region's project activities, and those costs are going to be particularly for what they're delivering in their region as part of the larger project, then yes, you could put that in.
Or yeah, I wondered, is it, I guess if it's clearer if you put the application as all three towns together, would that make more sense?
Yeah, I think you could probably do it either way, but yes, it may be stronger if it comes in as one application, and because it sounds like it, you know, if it's a kind of inter-regional partnerships, then yes, it may be stronger as a one big application. Now, does anybody else want to jump in? Any more questions that you have? I think there's like a fancy little hand thing where you can put your hand up, or you can just do this because I can see you all. Anyone? Phil? Cool. Well, maybe I can, no? All right. Well, if everybody is kind of happy with that and there's no other questions, then we will obviously be editing a little bit and popping this recording up onto the website, so you will be able to access it if you want to refresh your memory on anything. As Chandel said, we are developing an application guide for resilience and for recovery, so that'll be up soon as well, and we'll kind of pop an email out to everyone once it's ready, so everyone that's been in this chat, and you can share as far and wide as you like. If you do have any further questions about either of the grants, then Hannah and Chandel, their details are both up on the website, so just shoot them an email or pop them a call, and they'd be happy to kind of help out there. And I think that's everything. I'm sorry if I talked too much for everyone, but I hope that it was a little bit helpful or useful, or a bit of an insight into the two programs. And yeah, just keep in contact if you are doing an application, because we are kind of here to support you as best we can. Oh, awesome. I never know how to finish these things, but thank you everyone for joining us today. It was lovely to see everyone's faces, and I hope that you are all keeping well where you are across the state. And yeah, hopefully we'll be hearing from you in the future again. Wonderful. Thank you. See you.
Bye.